It's a day to celebrate in Somaliland, the 29th of September 2005. Somalilanders are heading to the polls to cast their votes to elect a new parliament. These parliamentary elections, the first of their kind in over 30 years and an experiment in democracy on top of an existing and robust clan system. For local councils first in December 2002, for the presidency in April 2003, and now for the House of Representatives. But holding these elections was not an easy undertaking.
The political parties had been given the opportunity to participate in the local elections, then the presidential election. What was missing was their electoral participation in the national legislative body, which didn't fit. It was imperative to hold the parliamentary elections, unless faced with circumstances beyond our control. And if the elections were not held, it would have been a severe blow to Somaliland's democratization process.
Instead, the people of Somaliland once more rose to the occasion to demonstrate their commitment to the democratization process.
It was the public especially who wanted a very good electoral process. That made the whole election very successful.
The process of holding parliamentary elections in Somaliland at the end of September 2005 brought into question the roles of the government, members of parliament, and the political parties. Indeed, the very existence of political parties themselves within a traditionally clan-based society. It considered the role of women and other marginalized people. It tested the very limits of the patience of the key players. And it highlighted the need for compromise and agreement on divisive issues like the distribution of parliamentary seats, representation in disputed areas, and a new code of conduct. There were no magic bullets or easy solutions, but tough decisions to be taken through political negotiation.
We were supposed to be moving to multi-party democracy, but we turned back to clan-based politics.
These elections were the first in more than 30 years. So if we tried to have elections similar to those of the Americans or Europeans in our first election, we were asking for trouble. So we were saying that we should not push too far, but go for a step-by-step improvement. We thank the Academy for hosting these meetings. From the local election to the presidential election, the Academy was the one which was doing the hosting of these discussions in its premises. The code of conduct was the hardest part of this process. Probably it was something others can learn from us. It was the result of constant mediation between the political parties and the government.
The Academy for Peace and Development, together with its partner WSP International, played a key role in keeping the electoral process on track.
The involvement of the Academy in the electoral process began with the local elections. Every Wednesday from February to November in 2002, the Academy held consultative parties. The first point of discussion for them was how to hold free, fair and peaceful elections, and they came up with 12 prerequisites to achieve that. In the parliamentary elections, after the electoral law was passed, and despite the difficulties and problems, the Academy hosted consultative meetings for the political parties every Sunday and Tuesday for 3 months to establish the code of conduct.
This is the story of how the parliamentary elections came about, the major obstacles overcome, and the challenges ahead. The countdown is on and the process is flagging. It's now mid-November 2004. Just 4 months to go to the election. There are no major activities on the ground to move the electoral process forward. In an effort to inject some life into the electoral process, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Kaibe, asks the Academy to find an external expert to help lawmakers draft a new electoral law. Ruben Zamora, a Salvadorian lawyer with extensive experience in transitional democracy in Latin America, arrives in Hargeisa. The Speaker of the House names a special ad hoc committee to work with Mr. Zamora, and they begin drafting the electoral law. The 27th of December 2004, and the draft electoral law is distributed to the lawmakers for review. Debate starts on the floor of the House. The draft bill faces strong opposition from the overwhelming majority of MPs, since they failed to reach a compromise on the seat distribution. January 2005, and the House of Representatives, to the dismay of the public, passes an alternative electoral bill with provisions that now make the March elections impossible. MPs are demanding a reliable national census before the election with the distribution of parliamentary seats based on that census. They are calling for countrywide elections, including in the disputed areas of Seoul and Sanag. And, to reinforce their message, the new law says holding elections without having met these provisions will be regarded as an act of treason. The lawmakers completely misread the public mood. There is widespread denunciation of the controversial bill. To hold the parliamentarians to account, the Academy decides to hold a forum bringing together key government ministers, representatives from the 3 political parties, MPs, women groups, civic organizations, and the public, to discuss the passage of the law, its blistering and confrontational debate. The first face-to-face encounter between the public and the members of the House. Speaker after speaker tell lawmakers that their time is up and that the public will not accept anything less than an election.
Why is this parliamentary election different from the previous elections? And why didn't the lawmakers obstruct the previous ones? I'll tell you. The passing of the electoral law would be tantamount to MPs firing themselves, and no one would be expected to voluntarily sign the end of his own contract.
In their defense, lawmakers argue that the law is the best they could come up with in the absence of a reliable census.
As you all know, for the last 2 years, we lawmakers were unable to resolve the issue of seat allocations. Each MP came under pressure from his clansmen, government officials and elders, and we were unable to reach a solution acceptable to all. Therefore, we felt that no deal on this issue was the only way to save ourselves from the wrath of our respective clansmen.